All right, check one, two, check one, two. Let me just make sure my volume is working real quick, guys, and we'll get into this. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. All right, check one, two, check one, two. Okay, sounds like my volume is working pretty good today. So, welcome, guys. It's Circle Talk. It's Friday, so you all know what it is. We're going to get together with a guest and talk about how they've changed the world and lives of a lot of people in their surroundings. And this guest is just um, an understatement of things that he has done for this community and on a local international platform. I met this man back when I was in high school, which is crazy to say, long time ago. I was in a group called Schoolboys. A lot of you guys already know. I did a lot of singing, performing locally and nationally. We did a lot of singing national anthems at Seahawks games and Mariners games, and we even got an opportunity to perform for Cube 93. They had this little get together where they had a couple groups meet at the Boys to Men concert. They put a stage in front of the Tacoma Dome, and they had a few groups come out and perform to go and backstage and see Boys to Men. And our group decided we wanted to go out and give it a shot. And we had a wonderful time. There was so many people surrounded around the booth that they had set up, and we went and sang "It's So Hard to Say Goodbye to Yesterday," and we did a great job. We did an amazing job, and everybody loved it. But there was this other group that went up after us. The group's name was Second Nature. They were a really good group, and they went on to do a couple albums and on national level, and they had a great run. But they were a tad bit better than us, and they ended up getting the to go back and meet Boyce Men. But it still was a great opportunity for us to get ourselves out there and meet people and be a part of something major that was going on in the community. And this man right here gave us our first opportunity to go on the radio waves and share our talents for the people. And along the way, that was a first, but there was many times where I seen him either it was at the YMCA, promoting Cube 93 and what was going on back in the day, or was down at the waterfront, or I had an opportunity to go to the station in Seattle and meet this gentleman and send him one of my CDs, when I was doing my music, and so I had a lot of opportunities to come into contact with him throughout my journey, and so I knew it would this had to have happened at some point during this walk, and so I'm excited to bring Mr. Eric Powers to the stage so that we can talk about his life, his journey, and all the things that he's been doing in the community and the world, and not just on just doing the radio waves, but he's also a family man. I'm going to talk about how he's bringing his family to the radio station and stuff like that. And so we're just going to get into it. But before we do, one of the things that I want to say, huge shout out to our sponsor, iShotya.com. If anybody's looking for any nice pictures, weddings, graduations, just want to have some pictures with your family, hit him up. He's got a great deal going on during the summertime. As y'all can see, the pictures of my daughters behind me, they were taken by this gentleman, and the ones in front of me and all through my house. He's a great guy, and he's very patient, and he'll come to your place wherever you're at and do those pictures for you. So hit up iShotya.com. He got you covered. All right. So without further ado, I'm gonna go ahead and bring my guy to the stage. I know he's back there waiting, anticipating getting this done. He's got a busy schedule. He's a busy man, so let's go ahead and bring Eric Powers to the building, y'all.
Good to be here, man. I love that intro. That was great.
How are you today, though, man? You know what it is.
You did it. You did it right, man. No, doing good, doing really good. I'm excited to be on your show, man. I love how you produced it and put it together. And you've been in the community as long as I have. You know
A
what's
long
going on.
time. We've been crossing paths a long time, man. And I have to tell you, man, like there's been so many times where like you was, hey, I'm gonna be at this location at this time, show up. And usually if it was anywhere in my vicinity, I was there, you know what I'm
You were.
saying? And it
You
was
were.
so great because you was very friendly. You weren't like these other people where you have to have a certain vibe or whatnot. You always wanted to let people come on and talk to them and just have fun with people, and make it
Yep.
fun for anyone that came into the into the building. And so I remember that, and I was thinking about, man, I gotta hit him up and see if he'll do this for me, because I know so many times he's done it for me in the past. Maybe he'll come and be a part of my little thing bobber that I'm starting. So
100%, man. Here to support you. I think what you were saying earlier too about uplifting people and helping the community. I mean, that's what we're all here for. Our journey is to help people. So,
of
any way
course.
I can help and serve, and I probably need to do more. As I was seeing your intro, I'm like, man, I need to step up even further. It just makes you, want to help people out, and you help people out. I try to help people out. That's what we're all here for, man. It's the journey of helping people.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think one of the things that I mean, you probably don't even remember this, but I had one year I went to Summer Jam,
Yeah.
and I had got backstage passes, and I put a picture of you getting interviewing Destiny's Child.
Oh, geez. Yeah.
You actually introduced me to them. I was at that I was at that show, bro. Like, I was thinking, I gotta put this on here because, man, that took me back, man. That one took me back. That was an amazing show too. I don't know if you remember all the
Oh yeah.
performers that was on that
Oh
show,
yeah.
but man, there was like Genuine and the Brat
Yep. The
and
brat tat tat.
Tyrese and RL from
Next, was
all the
that Next? Yeah,
yeah,
RL from
yeah,
Next. Yep,
RL
yep.
from Next. I even Busta Rhymes was at that one too. Yeah,
Jeez, I forgot
yeah.
about that.
That
I
show
think
was
I think
heavy.
you put up you said something like Destiny Child. That's where they broke up, right? Or that's where they had their.
Yeah.
Isn't that where they broke up? I was
They
like,
broke up
oh,
after that.
right after that. That's right, right,
Yeah.
right. I forgot
Yep.
all about that, man. That
But
was crazy.
it's crazy. It's crazy how many times we've crossed paths, man. And I'm so thankful that you're here today. But I don't want to talk about just us being in front of people, and that I like to get into your mind and where it all started for you and stuff. So do you mind telling us a little bit about where you're from
Yeah, 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 of course.
and all
I'm
that?
from here. I'm born and raised here. I actually grew up by Roosevelt, between Roosevelt High School and Nathan Hale. So I got into music because I was like, your parents are always like, "What are you going to do with your life? What are you going to do with your career?"
Yeah.
And I was like, I like talking to people and I like music. How do and I can't sing, I can't rap, I can't do any of that.
Yeah.
So how do I fuse them? I wasn't as talented as you. You're in a group, man. I couldn't
Yeah.
do
I was
that.
in
So I'm like, I couldn't do that. So when you were telling that Boys to
right.
Men story and how you were up with Second Nature and those guys, I'm like, that would have been my ultimate dream, but that I just didn't have it in the cards. So I'm like, hey, I got a voice, I can talk, I like music, and so I actually started a pirate station in my parents' basement,
Oh,
which
what?
people don't really know that. But
Right.
I started this pirate station in the basement, and then man, I got in some trouble. I got in a lot of trouble with the FCC and the Seattle police.
Oh,
So
really?
because it was illegal at the time.
Yeah.
So I got in trouble and was like playing music. I was a high school kid. I was just having fun, and they came, and after I was on the air for 3 months, they came knocking on the door. It was like the Seattle police and the federal government came and zoned in on this little transmitter tower I had, and so my
Yeah.
parents were like, "You can't do that anymore." So
Oh, gotcha.
so I went to Nathan Hale. I actually went to Hale because they have a radio program. So
Uh-huh.
they have a 30,000 watt FM station. So and that was in the 80s. So I'm like, then I went on to that station, and it was kind of like a dance rhythm station, and it
Yeah.
was played some new waves, some 80s, all that stuff. So I did that for about 4 years, and then after that, I was on a smaller AC station, and then flipped to Cube. And in the early '90s, when hip hop was really taking off, I mean, '80s it wasn't as big. I mean, you had the Salt and Pepper, you had like
Oh
the
boy.
Run DMCs and LLs, but it wasn't as big as the '90s. The '90s blew up with West
Right.
Coast rap and all this. So that's when it took off. There was a station in the Bay Area, KMEL, and then Cube, and then a bunch of other stations nationally, like New York, LA, and Power in LA, and Hot in New York. And then it started to really emerge and take off. And that's when kind of my career got going with Cube and Rhythm.
Yeah. So Cube 93. Let's talk a little bit about Cube, man. Like, man, you said around 93-ish, somewhere
Yeah,
around there.
92, 93. Yep, yep.
Was was it always in the cards to do hip hop music, R&B hip hop type music, or has that always been your favorite, or were you thinking about getting into anything else before that?
I mean, I liked dance music, so I was into dance and I was into rhythm, but it just kind of came together.
Hmm.
I mean, I was into every style of music at the time, but I mean, I definitely loved rhythm. I liked R&B, I liked hip hop, I liked the energy it brought, and it brought all types of people together, every type of person together. So I love that, and there nobody was really doing it, so everybody's doing rock, everybody's doing like adult contemporary and dance. I was like, what's another format? So I don't know if you remember all these guys back in the day, but it was like there was like T-Man and Eddie and Shelly
I
and
remember all
Tiffany.
that.
Yeah, yeah, all those guys. So we kind of all emerged in the late '90s together, and it was just like a family. You know what I mean? It was like everybody loved the music. Most everybody, Tiffany, Eddie, T-Man wasn't from here, but Shelly was from here. So everybody kind of knew each other, grew up together, knew all the areas of the city, knew the music, knew a lot of the local artists. So it was like a family kind of coming together and loving the music and loving. And I started to love the culture and love what was going on with everything that the station brought. We could be something different and serve the community in a different way. And it was every walk of life that came to the station. And a lot of people helped out, man. It wasn't just me. It was a ton of people. The Karen Wilds and Shelly Harts and Chet Buchanan's and Tiffany and Eddie now works in LA, with Beats LA, and Tiffany
That's
Warner works
crazy.
with me again. I brought Tiffany back. She's actually on Hot 1037. She's on my station now. So
Nice.
yeah, it was just like a family growing up that knew the music, knew the community, and brought their unique gift to the brand. So, but to answer your question, I didn't know what format I was going to get into because I
Yeah.
worked at an alternative station, I worked at a oldie station, and then started working at Cube. I just didn't know, to be honest.
What's in your car playing though? Like when you, because I know
Whew.
you only listen to yourself all day, are you?
No, 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 no. I mean, I got to be honest. I listen to a lot of like. I still love '90s hip hop, R&B. And I love what isn't out anymore. I mean, you got to remember, like the Jodeci's of the world, there isn't anything like that anymore.
Yeah,
So
that's
all
true.
that '90s, it's like Sunday Night Sounds or Sunday Night Slow Jams is probably one of my favorite shows on the station, and that doesn't play anything that radio typically plays. So I love a lot. I still love a lot of the radio stuff, though, man. I love you got West Coast records, and I also love classic hip hop Sunday, that style of music. But man, I'll listen to Hall and Oates. I'll listen to Lionel Richie. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm all over the map, and I'll go through a phase where I'll listen to some dance music, or I'll listen to mixers and DJs from across the country. And even on our Odyssey app, I mean, I love listening to variations of this station. Like, there's jams in Chicago. I like jams in Chicago.
Yeah.
That's probably one of my favorite stations to listen to because they have their own version of what we play. And then, stations in New York and LA. But man, I listen to everything. I'll go from Hall and Oates to Easy E to Jay Z, the first album, to then I'll go to Lionel Richie. And then, I'm all over the map, man.
Let me ask you something, man, because this ain't on my list of questions, but I was just thinking about it because as a young guy, when I was doing my music in a group, one of the things that we were trying to do around this area is just be heard. And I know Cube was somewhat supportive, but it seemed like like you were talking about Sunday night sound sessions. That was kind of a time when you guys first started that.
Hmm.
You guys were asking local artists to send their music in, and you guys would at least check it out, see if it was radio ready.
Hmm.
Was that really? Because to me, I listened to it a lot,
Hmm.
coming up,
Hmm.
and I felt like a lot of the music was new, but it wasn't necessarily artists, new upcoming artists. It was more artists that have someone that's already made it on their song, so they're gonna play it because that person's name on the song. Were they really promoting local artists around here,
They were
in
doing a
your opinion?
combination. It was a combination. I did give them a lot of freedom to do
Mhm.
what they felt was right. So they would break. The show was really, people didn't realize this. It was based on national and local. So it was like
Mhm.
we didn't have enough product or music to always substantiate stuff that would pass all their filters. So we would
Uh-huh.
do local, national break of new artists. So artists that we wouldn't all normally play. like on regular rotation they would put in, and then they would intermix that with local artists. Because our whole thing was, if you just played a bunch of local artists back to back to back, it would never give those local artists a chance to be put sandwiched in between big talent
Right, right.
that had names. So then we would attract audience in with some of the the bigger artists, or artists that were national and weren't always broken or played, and then we'd intermix local artists so that because if it would be like just playing all local, and then it skews on the cume, the audience that comes in. So
Right. I just had to ask that because I know in all my family's originally from Texas and Louisiana, and I know they have a station in Texas that, they play a lot of local. And it gets pretty crazy when you think about playing local artists, the type of music that they're playing. A lot of it is kind of iffy. And so I get that it has to be screened and it has to be
yeah.
radio ready and whatnot. So I kind of
And
understand
they
that.
try to be a little more picky choosy, so not they weren't just throwing on anything. So because they got
Right.
to keep the
Sure.
ratings up, so then the local artists are actually heard versus back and forth. So man, the radio's a crazy game. It's a crazy game.
Yeah, it
It's a
is
it's
definitely.
not it's a business, but it's also, you want to serve the community and help the community. You want to try to do things like, we'll do a lot of charity type stuff, and then you intermix with trying to play local. I don't Right now I do all catalog, it's old school music, but I
Mhm.
mean, and I think nowadays local artists have much more of a platform with social media, like what we're doing right now. We didn't have
Yeah,
10 years ago,
yeah,
so now it's like
exactly.
local artists have. I don't think local artists, if they're good, do they need a record label? Do they need, radio's great. And when you get to certain places, I think radio makes sense for sure. But I kind of feel like with the way digital and social, and I feel like you can almost launch your own thing now.
Yeah, you're seeing a lot of artists these days that are going unsigned, basically creating their own independent labels and putting out their stuff to be heard. And a couple of them hit the mainstream real good.
And they
What's
retain
that
their own
guy's?
money.
Yeah,
They
exactly. And they get
retain their own money instead of
exactly.
everybody taking a piece.
Yes, that's for sure. So let's get into it's summertime. It's officially summertime. What,
No
today's
doubt.
25th, so we're there. Right. When I think about Q back in the day, right now will be the time you guys will be preparing for Summer Jam.
Right.
At the Gorge and George back in the day,
Yeah.
all those times.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about how amazing those shows were for you. I mean, the good and bad of those shows during that run with Q.
I mean, it was mainly all good, man. I mean, there's a lot of good years, and it was all support from people. You and I, as of the
Yeah,
world, that actually wanted to go and be a part of that. I mean, it takes a village of people to want to do that.
oh yeah, for
Um,
sure.
there's crazy stories. I mean, there's behind the scenes stuff, but I mean, ultimately, it's I think the idea of putting a hip hop show, taking a hip hop show, getting artists to actually come to Seattle is a long distance. Like if
It
you're
is.
these hip hop artists, they're in L.A., Houston, New York. I mean, they're all over. They're not in Seattle. So to
Right.
get them to fly all the way to Seattle, which is far enough, and then to get them to drive 2.5 hours in the middle of nowhere,
Yeah.
and they're like, "Where are we going? What are we doing?" I
Right.
mean, Cube is a big brand, especially back in the day, would break a lot of these artists and play these songs, but to get these artists essentially in the middle of nowhere, after they
Yeah.
just got done doing big venues in LA, New York, Miami. So to get them to come up to Seattle, I'll be honest, it was difficult because they didn't always see Seattle as the hip hop, mecca. They didn't look at us. I mean, Seattle's looked upon from the world as more of a rock town.
Yeah.
You got Pearl Jam, Nirvana, and a lot of the stations here that do well are rock stations. So that was
Right.
always my big thing. How come R&B? And again, a lot of us, it was a team of people, which is me, but a lot of us said, "Hey, why isn't there any representation for other formats?" And so we were pioneers in that, in the sense to get it to come alive, because there's a lot of people you have to convince to do these formats, and then once you get it going, then it takes a team of people. But I mean, man, Summer Jam, it was an experience. I mean, we had 20,000
Man.
people. Who would have thought a hip hop show would sell out in Seattle? Usually they
Man.
don't.
You
So to
guys had
get
some shows.
I know, to get people always ask me, can we do a show like that again? I said, man, you almost want to do something new now. You want to recreate something new. So, but man, to get 15 acts to fly into Seattle was one thing on the same day at the same time, but then to get them to drive the gorge,
Yeah.
and you had to get those huge shuttle services, drive them all the way out. And by the time they got there, I remember Lil Flip was there and he was exhausted. He was like, I can't even get on stage. It took so much time. It's so much, to get him. And these artists would be flying flying in from, they were traveling on. Sierra would fly in from, the Bahamas, or
Right.
Lil Wayne flew in from Mexico, or, so you'd
Yeah.
always constantly, you'd have to get all these artists from different locations, because it wasn't a tour that was routed on buses. It was a 1-day event to get them to fly in
Yeah.
all over the world. So it was a lot of logistics, a lot of a lot of travel issues. And I think but the experience at the end was phenomenal. I mean, to have something at, in the middle of the desert, essentially, over a cliff at the Columbia
Yeah.
River.
Right.
I mean, and to get all these artists to do this was pretty unheard of and pretty unbelievable. We started at Evergreen Fairgrounds, then we moved to the Gorge, then we went to White River, then we went back to the Gorge, and we moved back to White River, because we kept trying to shake up the experience a little bit. But I mean, the Gorge was second to none. She had camping. We did the 2-day experience where we did
Yeah.
new school, old school. So we kept trying to outdo ourselves and trying to change it. But man, it's something that'll never leave me. It's just like you. It's ingrained in all our
Oh
brains
yeah.
of the
Forever.
fun. I mean, I got people that hit me up and say we got married there, we had kids there, we camped out all weekend. I mean, and people want to bring that back, but I think it's like sometimes it's like just good to have those memories and then
Yes,
move
for sure.
forward. But yeah, man. I mean, the Gorge I was voted one of the best venues in the world by Billboard magazine. So I think it would be cool to recreate something like that again. I just think it's difficult to do.
It's really
It's
difficult.
Yeah, the timing of hip hop, is different now. Live shows are different now. I mean, man, it was a special time, and I'll never forget it.
Yeah, we had some good times there. I went there 3 years in a row with me and a couple of my good buddies, and we had a phenomenal time every time. I mean,
It
we
was fun.
heard all those. You hear all the stories about, people going through certain situations where they're
Hmm.
getting hurt, or the stories.
Yeah, and that's a
We don't
tough
really need
thing,
to
man.
get in.
When you mix all that together, sometimes you get challenges. So that's
Yeah,
safety has to be priority. So that's part of the reason we couldn't continue.
for sure. So let's talk about the outro when it finally came to you that you was moving on. Did you make the choice, or did you guys have agreement 93.3
Yeah,
that you
they
were
just
gonna?
kind of what they, I think just like any job, man. I mean, at the end of the day, just like you and I said in the beginning, it's a business. And so they had to make decisions and they had to change. And I think I was growing out of it. I wasn't, I'm not a kid anymore. So I think, when I started there, I was 18. And then, I left, I was, in my 30s. I think that well, maybe even older. I think they basically wanted to go a different direction. They wanted to go younger. And that just wasn't me, and that's okay. I think you have to. I think they did the right thing. You have to evolve the stations, just like Coke or Pepsi or McDonald's. Everybody's got to
Yeah,
evolve. I think there was a great line. It's either, I mean, change is inevitable, growth is optional. And so my change had to. It was kind of I didn't want to leave the party. I always say I didn't want to leave the party, but it was like, last call had happened about 100 times,
yeah, for
and
sure, for
everybody
sure.
had left. Shelly had left, T-Man had left, everybody had left, Eddie had left. Everybody had left. I was kind of one day woke up, I'm like, I'm the only one left here. And so I think that they wanted to, everybody wants to recreate what was. It's like when you look in your past, just like you being an artist, or you being in summer jam, or you whatever you did in your life,
Yeah,
you have those moments where you kind of want to sneak back there and stay in that moment where you felt really, you felt kind of like you were in charge, you were empowered, and it felt like good. But it was just time to move on, man. I think they really made more of the decision. I think they made the right decision in hindsight. Sometimes people have to give you the news. It's like the pill you don't want to swallow, but sometimes it's the right one. So I think they made that decision on me.
yeah. Well, it's like you said, with sign of the times, it's like football. Like
Yeah,
it's
man,
like a running back.
it
You
is.
get those good 5 6 years, and then after that, is he still got anything left in the tank?
Yeah,
It's
and that's why I think they made the right move. They had to evolve.
Yeah. So, evolution meant you had to move elsewhere. 103.7.
Mhm.
Was that what did you instantly go into that, or did it take you a little bit of time? How'd you do with that
Yeah,
afterwards?
no, I didn't go right into it. So I took time off because I had worked 25 years in a row, 24 years in a row straight at Cube. And that was a long run. So
Yeah.
I was like I was like, maybe I don't want to. because I had gone through a lot. I mean, you do so many concerts, so many shows, so many record labels, so many artists, so many
Yeah.
personnel. You're like, kind of like, all right, I've done it. I got kids now. Maybe
Right.
it's time to just. I honestly thought I was going to get into a different career. Um, but then Mix-a-Lot and I had talked. This is probably a year. I took a year off because I couldn't compete in the market. So I took a year off and said, let's reevaluate. And then Mix-a-Lot and I had talked a bunch of times, and I was the one that actually talked to Intercom. It was Intercom's Odyssey now, but Intercom, and they had the throwback station. So I said, that's a brand I know can get right into, and really broke a lot of these records in Seattle. And Mix was like, hey man, I would love to be on with you. So being from Seattle, he knows Seattle as well as I do. He was like, "Hey, I'll do the morning show. You do the afternoon show. What if we do something like that?" And I presented that to him as well. I went to him, and him and I kind of came up with a bunch of ideas back and forth. And I went to him with some ideas, and so we both kind of just collaborated, man, and just said, "Hey, this station fits who we are now."
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was able to still do his music and touring and all that stuff, and he's got a ton of businesses, so he ended up being able to do what he needs to do, and he has a studio at his house, and he was able to do it live from his house. So, and then I just go into work every day, and him and I would connect. We'd really use digital to connect, and then we did it. So for 2 years he was on the air with the station, and he still does stuff with us. But
Okay.
yeah, man, it just worked out. It was beautiful. I really felt like he is a lot. He's got so many dynamics to him. I mean, he's funny, he's quirky, he's got a great sense of humor. He sees the world in a different lens. And
Yeah.
and to be honest, at Cube, I was trying to get him on for years. I was
Oh,
trying to
really?
get him to be the morning guy there, which people don't know. Yeah. After T Man left, I was like, hey, I'd love to get him on because I think he represents the city. He knows the city. He's made music here. He's got a different lens on life than all of us.
Right.
So I finally got my dream to bring him on to be a host on a different station. So
Oh, that's cool. And shout out to Sir Mix-a-Lot too. He's been in the game for a very long time. Very, very long
yeah,
time.
very long time.
Great guy.
Super talented.
So you've enjoyed your time over there. Everything seems to be going well. I
Yeah.
seen a couple pics. I didn't really post a whole bunch of them, but
Right.
I kind of sift through and find pictures. I seen you posted a couple pictures of the kids with at the station, your station.
hmm
Is this are you basically broadcasting from home every time you do 103.7, or you have to go to station? How's that working now?
Well, I was until pandemic hit, and then yeah, I've been at home broadcasting, but hopefully soon we'll be back. But
Yeah.
you're right. I would be in the studio in Seattle, but until they do a full reopen, I'm not there right now. I've been there a few times,
Yeah.
but they'd rather us stay home until we do the full reopen because we're on one floor, so we don't have multiple levels. All the studios and all the people are on one floor, and so
Right, right.
they want to play it safe. But yeah, you're right. I'd be at the station, so I have an office there, and then we have studio there, and then that's typically where we do all our business. Yep. But I'm doing it from home right now. Yeah.
So let me ask you about the family, man. How's the family life going? Everything good with the fam?
Yeah, man. Family's good. 2 kids, busy in
Yeah.
sports. Man, you got
Yeah.
kids. You know,
Yeah, you
I
know
mean,
me.
that to me is a full time job.
Yes.
Thanks to my amazing wife, man. She does an incredible job just managing everything. So, but I feel like I don't know about you, but it's so different from our life before when you and I were at venues and shows,
Yeah,
and now
everywhere.
yeah, just almost like what you said. Hey, if I heard you on the air, we'd go out and hang and all that. I don't have that life is tough. That's why it's better for me to do a format like this because it's not. I don't have to be at every concert every minute. Um,
Yeah.
but we still do a lot of shows. But yeah, no, it's good, man. Family's good. 2 kids, wife, just busy with sports
Yeah,
and
I see that.
homeschool, and yeah, man, just that's where our life is right now.
Homeschooling too?
It was well homeschool in the sense that because of the pandemic, they were at home.
Gotcha, gotcha,
Yeah, yeah,
gotcha.
yeah. But they
Yeah.
started to go back 2 days a week. But man, I don't know how parents do it. I had no idea how crazy it was going to be. So
Yeah.
but it's a lot of fun. We love it.
Was
It's
it
like
was it pretty crazy for the family in 2020
it
when
was
all this stuff?
crazy, man. It was nuts. I mean, we got to know each other a lot better. I think we drove each other crazy,
Yeah.
but I mean, we've had fun. I mean, it's also, I think it's forced all of us to be together more, which I think that's the ultimate. You're supposed to people are supposed to be with people, and I
Yeah.
think it kind of helped us do a reset, and a lot of it was good. We got to hang a lot more, and I got to help out a lot more. So I mean, it really has taught me a few things. It kind of resets your importance a little bit. Where's your barometer in life? And so, I mean, yeah, it's like, where do you want to be? Where's the most important place you can be? Where's your time best spent? So I think man, it's been good. I'm sure I've driven them all crazy a few times, but
Yeah. So the kids enjoy being around dad now that he's home a
mm,
little bit more than usual. Or
it depends on the day. It
yeah.
depends on the day. I don't know, man. It's most
Yeah.
of the time. You
Some
know what? You
days you think they want you there, but then
Yeah, it
the
just
other days they're
depends
like,
on how they're feeling that day. I don't know, man.
"Dad, do
It
you have to
depends.
work today? You have
Mm,
somewhere you can be other than here."
They
I
would
get
prefer
it,
the
man. Trust
office.
me.
Yeah.
I know how it feels. I'm right
Yeah.
there with you. So, let's get into a couple questions, just scenario questions. Let's say you're having a conversation with a bunch of people that show up at the station, and they hear Eric Power is going to be in the building. We want to talk to him and see how how we go about being a part of this type of environment. What do you tell someone that wants to get involved in the radio business and what they need to do to get to your level?
I think it's one of those things where you need to, just like you would in baseball. I use baseball as an analogy. You need the reps, man. You need the time in. You need to focus and hone down exactly what you want. I think the more focus you can get on what you want, the better. Like if you were to start, you were to be an artist, it's like, I don't know, I like to do all music. Or when I talk to people who want to get into radio, they're like, me, and I said, well, what do you want to do specifically? I don't know, man. I just want to be in it. And I'm like, well, it's too broad. I think the more narrow you can get, like I want to do sales. I'm great at connecting with sales. I'm great at building clientele, promotions. I love to market and promote concert. Like I love being involved with like live music, or because there's so many facets to radio. I think when I got in, I thought it was just you turn on the mic, play some music, and then
Yeah,
there's the administrative, the business, the concerts, the promotions, the sales side, the business side, the production side, the imaging side. So I think I would tell somebody figure out, dabble in every piece of it, and figure out what you want to do. But I also think people need to be warned about, what the career would look like in 10 years. Where's radio really going? So it's going to the digital space, like streaming, like what we're doing now, like,
yeah,
podcast, streaming. So I would say radio, and just like media in general, isn't what it was even 5, 10 years ago. So it's like, here's where it's going, where you can bring value. And I think everybody at the end of the day, needs to know what their compensation could be. And
right.
so I think, there's so many different, it's almost like an octopus. It's like there's so many tentacles in the music world now. Being an artist, I mean,
Mhm.
it's not easy. And I would say radio and any media, I call it the high risk on. And you have to, it's going to be bumpy. And they always say you haven't been in radio till you've been fired or you've moved, or so I think you got to be versatile with that. You got to be nimble. You've got to be able to think kind of, down the road on what the landscape of the business is going to look like. And I think that's a lot for a young person, but I also say, what do you really want to do? Because everybody says follow your dreams.
Yeah,
I think you need to follow your dreams. And a lot of people say you need to have a plan B. I think sometimes what happens is if plan A starts to get tough, you fall
mm,
back on the plan B you didn't like. And sometimes having a plan B isn't a good thing if you know what you're getting into has good fundamentals and foundation. So I say push hard on the plan B if you've done your research. Get specific on what you want, and then find the best mentor you can find and be a mentee. It's like if I was getting into real estate, or if I was getting into golf or whatever, baseball, I'd go after trying to find the best mentor, and then seriously be the best mentee. And I do that. Like even in radio, I will sit around with 3 or 4, 5 of the guys. We just did a conference Zoom the other day, and I try to learn and soak it in. You would think somebody who's been in it for 25 years,
yeah,
you would know most of it, but you keep learning and evolving. And especially with what you and I said, it's change is inevitable, growth is optional.
yeah.
So you have to constantly be evolving, and I think you got to surround yourself with people that are going to help push you forward, and I think teach you. But my first thing would be figure out what you want to do, narrow it down, and get a great mentor.
Awesome. Good advice. Great advice. So let's talk about Seahawks. Are you a big Seahawks fan?
I do love the Seahawks. I do love the Seahawks,
you
man.
know,
I'm a
you
fan.
you was and I didn't mean to interrupt you, but last year you was talking about the Seahawks on 103.7, and one day you was saying people call me, let's talk about it. And I called you one time. I don't know if you remember. I called you, and we talked online for a little bit about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
On the radio station and all that. And you didn't realize that I had a little bit of knowledge on them, but
You
I was
got
like,
knowledge. You have a
I
lot
know
of
a little bit.
knowledge.
I know a little bit,
You
because
do.
I'm a fantasy dude, though. That's why I know all about the fantasy, and I pay attention to every team. But I'm a huge Seahawks fan. I'm a huge Mariners fan. Huge Sonics fan. Even though we don't have our Sonics
Oh,
anymore.
we need them back,
Do
man.
you
We
think
need
they're
them
coming
back.
back? Do you think they're ever going to bring them back?
Everybody I've talked to, because so the folks that own the Sonics used to own Cube. So
Hmm.
we were in the same building with the Sonics, Sports Radio, KJR, and that was the Accolades that owned them and sold them. I think now that we have a new arena, and that was the big problem. Remember, that's what Howard Schultz or the
That's
Seattle
what it was all
Basketball Club
about.
wanted. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that helps the NBA look at us a little more seriously, because the money has been invested into, that's usually what happens when you have that type of arena. You have a hockey and an NBA team, NHL,
Yeah.
NBA. So I think now we're going to look upon as a little more serious, because before, Key Arena or Coliseum, whatever you want to call it, it wasn't up to snuff for NBA teams, although it wasn't a bad venue. It wasn't a great venue. But I think now the NBA will look at us more seriously, and I think that I would think some sort of expansion team or some sort of team would be coming into the next. I would guess from everybody I've talked to, 3 to 5 years, it will happen again. I mean, I think the city is big enough. Look, we got a huge soccer passion with
Yep.
Sounders. We've obviously got WNBA, we got MLB, we got NFL at very high levels. So
Yes.
I
Yes.
would assume that it would be, not even assumed, just people have said, people that are in the know have said 3 to 5 years, and the NBA again with the venue, and that's a huge investment to redo that Coliseum, hundreds of millions. I mean,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we needed that. It was kind of it's kind of the cart before the horse, because we didn't have the venue that I think the NBA took us serious. I think there's always going to be speculations: do we have enough fans? But we have to realize this city has grown exponentially in the last 5 years
Yeah. It
with all the
has.
technology.
Oh
So
yeah.
with Microsoft expanding their campuses, Amazon, I mean, we have the biggest exporter of airplanes in the world. One of the biggest exporters, period, in the U.S. Our number one exporter is Boeing. So
Right.
any city would be happy to have Amazon, and that'd be it. They'd be done. They'd be over. But we
Yeah.
have, T-Mobile, Microsoft, all these Amazon, all these companies. So
Huge
it,
companies.
yeah, with all these people that have moved in from all these other cities that are used to having an NBA franchise, I would think we have it since the Sonics have left. The city has grown, as you know, to a whole nother level.
Oh
I
yeah.
would think we have more than enough support, wouldn't you?
Yep. For sure. For sure. I felt like with a lot of the changes that continue to happen with obviously the WNBA's been doing amazing. They didn't really think it was going to last very long here. We got the new what is it, the ice rink or whatever it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah. Kraken.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That's the Kraken. That's
Hmm.
right, the Kraken. There's no reason why they shouldn't have it. I mean, we're
100%.
continuing to grow. Obviously, this whole state is grown so much.
Hmm.
Just in I'm in Tacoma. I drive from Tacoma to Buckley, and you just see it. People just building and creating more and more, and people moving in more and more. Money is here. I don't see why they wouldn't want to bring it. Bring the Sonics back. I mean, it was amazing franchise. Even though we didn't have all the winning seasons necessary to keep us, we still had decent. We had great teams. Our
Hmm.
crowds wasn't that bad. I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, we did have some years where people weren't coming out and supporting, but when they were going, it was going like GP and Rain Man when they was running. I felt like everybody was supporting.
I
But
did too. I did too. I
it is what it
that's
is.
it is. It'll be back. It was some tough business decisions. I thought with Howard we would have kept the team here, but
Yeah. So what's next? What's next for Eric Powers and 103.7 and What's going on with you guys? What you got
Oh
going on?
man, I would say once the world gets back to real normal, like people really start going back to work and the world really fully opens up, and next week will be a good sign with Inslee, allowing kind of everything to open back up. I think, I mean, we're one of the 4 states that hasn't fully reopened, so I think once that happens, I mean, we're looking forward to a big concert series, getting back into summer fun, man. That's what we do. We want to bring fun and community, and we have partnered with a lot of great community partners for African American Men's Health Walk. We and getting healthy again. We did that the year before COVID. We are working on American Cancer Society Breast Cancer Walk, and the
Awesome.
local version in October. Now, how does that look? I don't know yet. Last year we
Yeah.
did it with them. We partnered with ACS, and then we're trying to do a summer. Just throwing it out there, we're trying to do a summer meal food drive because you got to realize, kids, man, Tacoma, Seattle, all over, they depend on the food at school when they were even going
Yes.
back 2 days a week. So kids without food is just it breaks my heart. So we want to help out with a summer, and we did it last year. We partnered a summer meal food program. So I think community, 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 and then we got a couple shows coming at the Washington State Fair, Ice Cube, and then Macklemore. So we're going to get way behind those, and we're just announcing this weekend Pitbull and Iggy Azalea at White River, September 28th, I think it is. So we're back, man. We're because I think people are they want to get out and live life again.
Everybody's
So
tired of being stuck at home. They ready.
yep.
They ready to blast off.
So we're trying to take off with them, man, and that's kind of get back in the community and get back and just start really firing things up.
So I was asked a question a couple days ago, and from one of my friends, and they wanted me to ask you. She lives in Phoenix, Arizona. She doesn't have access to the station, but she really would like to listen to the station. How she go about doing that? Do you guys have
Yep.
any
Yep.
method to it?
Yep. So you download the Odyssey app. It's AUDACY, and you can get us right there and stream us anywhere in the country. So
Okay.
odyssey.com, and then you download the app, and it's free.
All right, so I'll make sure I put that in the comments for anyone that's watching that isn't from Washington, because I have people from all over the country. So
Yeah.
it'd be good to listen to Eric Powers, past, present, to the future. The guy
We
that's
love it.
been everywhere with everybody. Before we go though, I got
Yeah.
to ask you one other question.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who was I really want to know this question. Who was the nicest person that you met that was in the biz versus the not so nice person that you met in the biz?
I would say the nicest person was Tupac. He was we spent a lot of time together when he was with Digital Underground at Evergreen State Fairgrounds. I mean, we did an hour interview,
Yeah.
and he talked about his life, about his future, about what he was trying to do with music, and how he was trying to like make a huge impact. And that was when he was with Shock G with
Yeah.
Digital Underground. So I would say he was one of the nicer people that I'll never forget. I mean, he really took the time out to talk to all the listeners and the fans, and he just did a great job connecting with people and making you feel like you were special. Um, so I think he was one of the nicest and just coolest guys to work with as far as
Yeah.
shows and concerts and connecting with, and he cared about his fans. And I think you saw that through his music and through who he was. I'd say one of the toughest ones. This goes a different direction. I don't know if you remember when she started Pink. I don't know. She was on Arista,
Yeah.
and she was
Yeah.
doing more rhythm. When she started, everybody
Yeah.
sees her as a pop act now, but
She was a
in the be
popper. Yeah.
yeah,
She was
yeah,
a pop act.
she was a pop. But in the beginning, she wasn't. She was on LaFace, like Arista. She was more
Oh,
rhythm.
okay. Yeah.
So she was totally into, trying to do more rhythm type stuff and work with, like rhythmic producers, R&B hip hop producers. So she came to town one day, long story short, and then we went to dinner, and she was starting out. Her manager, I think, was a manager of Backstreet Boys or something like that. And so, and her label was with her, Arista. And so she wanted to come out to the club. She wanted to come to Cafe Arizona. I was at Cafe Arizona.
Yeah.
And
Jeez,
so, oh my
way
gosh,
back.
way back. So she was kind of edgy. She was from Philly. She'd
Yeah.
been in some trouble. So she wanted to come to the club. I didn't realize she was actually going to come out. So she comes out, she's in line. It's raining, of course, and I can't get her in because she's not 21. I didn't know that.
Oh, snap.
So the owners are like, I don't care who it is. I don't care if it's Jay-Z. We're not going to let you in unless you're 21. And because their liquor license and all the liquor laws.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had that with other artists too, other issues with other artists that weren't, you got to remember like the Soulja Boys and, all these artists are young and I couldn't,
Yeah.
and they kind of felt like since they were working, or they weren't even working, they were just kind of coming out to hang. I couldn't always get them in the venues because of liquor laws in the state of Washington. They're just rough. They're just, that's just the law. So I couldn't get her into the venue. She was underage and the owners wouldn't let her in. And so she yelled and screamed at me outside. So I had to call a cab. Cab didn't show up. So then she just went crazy, man. She started, calling me names and yelling at me. And so eventually we worked it out. And then she apologized inside her first album because it just
cool.
got, it was cool. But she got pretty, anytime I'd see her. So I saw her like years later with my wife and I said, hey, I don't know if you remember me. She goes, oh, I remember you. And then I'm like, well, here's my wife. And she looked at me and said, somebody actually married you?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So her and I just always battled, man. She was always, but I mean, she's cool. She's cool now, but we had our run-ins.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's a good story. Oh, Pink. I used to love Pink back in the day too. She was pretty good.
Yeah, she was. But man, she's got a rough side to her.
Yeah, she did. She definitely had a little edge to her, though. She
That's a good word. That's the
even
good.
Even as a kid, she was edgy.
Yeah,
she just came out edgy.
She was very.
You got a piece of it though. She gave you a piece.
I would expect that all the artists though wouldn't have been her that I had the most problems with. Like the Jays, the Busta Rhymes, everybody was cool. She was the one with some of the craziness.
I have to admit, Busta was probably one of the coolest people that I met while I was at hanging out with you over at Summer Jam and whatnot. I met a lot of people when I was there, but Bus was like, yo, come over here and chill with us. And we was all hanging out, listening. He was listening to Da Brat and Tyrese do their song. Their song they used to do together. He was chilling right next to us because he was about to go on next, but he was chilling right with us like, yo, what's up? Let's do this. And we're just jamming. It was amazing. He was so cool, man.
He's a good dude.
Such a cool cat.
Good dude.
Yeah, man. Well, hey, man, we've been on for a long time. I know you got to get back to working and give your wife back her computer so she can work too.
You put it out there, baby.
Hey, no, I want to give a huge shout out to Aaron Dimitro though, because last night we was trying to get this thing worked out.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron.
I could not figure it out.
I couldn't either.
I'm just gonna have my co-host hit you up. Y'all can figure it out. I ain't got nothing to do with it.
She was a rock star, man. She did it. She did it. My wife and I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, shout out to her for helping us.
Thank you, Aaron.
This thing going because I don't know this app like she does. So
I had no idea.
I have problems, I always call on her.
She got it done.
Yes. So thank you so much, Eric.
You got it, man. You got it.
I know. We don't see each other like that, just on occasions, but I see you all the time, and I appreciate everything that you have done in my journey. Every chance that you gave me when other people wasn't giving me chances. I've been to a lot of radio stations and tried to be heard by a lot of people, and a lot of people shut doors on us, but I appreciate you for always being a stand-up person that you've always been, willing to help any and every person that pretty much you came into contact with. So thank you so much for all that. And thank you for this interview. Hopefully everyone that's watching will get something from it. Make sure you guys always check out him at 103.7. That's my guy. I listen to him every other day.
I was like, where is he going to go with this?
Yeah, because some days I don't be on.
That's all right. That's right.
Any support's good. Some days I don't be on the station.
Yeah.
I be on my iPhone, so I'd be like, But
Me too.
When I'm listening to the radio, it's always Eric Powers. He's
awesome.
Number one on my list. So
good to see you, man. Good to see you.
Yes, nice to see you too. It's hot, bro. Like I'm over here sweating. You see my face?
You and me both.
It's a hot one.
I got fans in the back, man. I got fans.
I ain't got no fan in the back. I got the window open, the door open, but I'm still sweating.
It's hot, man. It's gonna get
so
hotter.
Y'all, hey, make sure you guys in this world, make sure you guys stay hydrated. It's gonna be a hot weekend. Going to be really, really hot. So make sure you're drinking lots of water. Make sure you're getting those nutrients back into your body because this heat is going to be heavy.
Big time. Take care of yourself.
So thanks again, Eric. Hey, guys, this is it for Circle Talk for today. Thank you guys so much for listening. Shout out to our our sponsor, iShotya.com. Thank you so much for supporting us and being a part of this journey. Next week, we got July. So we'll have a new guest next week. It's a surprise. I'll let you guys know when we get close. All right. So y'all
I'll be
have a
watching.
wonderful one. Take
See you,
care.
man. Peace.
Peace.